This is Dan for a bonus episode of Sports and Songs podcast. Today is June 10th, 2021, and today I'll give the review of Dan's visit to League Park in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio has an old school ballpark just east of the city on a street intersection called 66th and Lexington. Now this one was an old historical site for Major League Baseball that went way back. My trip to Cleveland last month, I was able to spend a few minutes at this site. This is what it looks like today. Here's what it looked like back in the heyday. Early 1900s. Large ballpark. Cleveland, Ohio, home of the Cleveland Indians, and for many years, home for also the Negro League teams in Cleveland. Here's what it would have felt like being in the upper deck of the stadium back in the day. Here's some history. League Park was located at East 66th and Lexington Avenue in Cleveland. Cy Young pitched the first game there. That is correct. I did not stumble there. Cy Young pitched the very first game there in May 1st, 1891 for the National League team called the Cleveland Spiders. Other famous players who appeared at League Park include Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Satchel Paige, Lou Gehrig, and Joe DiMaggio. Built in the late 1800s, the ballpark was the site of numerous historic sports moments, including the 1920 World Series was held there. The first Grand Slam in World Series history, 1920. The first unassisted triple play in baseball history actually took place in the same game in the 1920 World Series as the first Grand Slam. Also, years later in 1936, Cleveland Indians pitcher Bob Feller's first game was at this location. Bob Feller, the late Bob Feller, the pitching great. The Cleveland Indians abandoned this ballpark in 1947. It was eventually torn down, turned into a playground in the 50s. All that was left of the original park was the ticket house that was built in 1909 and part of the East 66th Street grandstand wall. In 1979, the site was declared a Cleveland landmark and placed on the National Register of Historic Places. So here's what it looks like today. I'll do a slideshow. Here's the inside of that wall, what it looks like today. There's a Tris speaker on the right. Here's what the field looks like today. It's artificial turf. Youth and adult sports play on the field. It's an actual big league park. It's a regular baseball field with the actual height of the right field fence. There's Bob Feller. There's a museum on site. Here's the entrance to the museum. The old original brick and the ticket house is what you see back there. Here's what it looks like today from the street side. There's a small museum on site. There's a picture of the Cleveland Buckeyees. That's the Negro team that played in Cleveland. This was their home. If you look across the street, there's an old building with a lot of the players' portraits, pictures on the top, in the windows across the street. This was a very popular place. There's the old existing wall. It was part of the right field grandstand. Original brick that was never taken down. Here it is, what it looks like on the inside. There's stabilizers to keep that wall up, along with some landscaping. Satchel Paige on the left. So they got a little museum there with historical artifacts. The baseball field itself is an actual baseball field. It's artificial turf. There's that right field wall, the same exact dimensions they had when the big ballpark was there. They had a huge, I think it's a 40 to 60-foot wall in right field because the right field line was so short. So short. I think it was in 290 feet perhaps. They put up a big wall. So that's what it looks like today. These are the images that I took when I was on my trip last month. Very historical spot. A lot of games there. Lots of history. Once again, here's what the stadium looks like, or looked like back in the day. I think the capacity was only 9,000 fans. And then Cleveland went on to build Municipal Park right on the water that held 70,000 fans. Here's the old ticket office, the original building that was built in 1909. After the rest of the stadium was torn down, they kept that up, and that's now the museum. And that is the street corner that I stood on last month when I was there. So this was a big-time stadium back in the day with a lot of history. Here's what it looks like when you go in. Major League Baseball likes to try out different ballparks. This year they're hosting a game at Field of Dreams in Iowa at that park. While talking to the manager of the museum here at this location, they're trying to persuade Major League Baseball to hold a game here one summer, an actual Major League game here on site. And like I said, the field is already there. There's no stands, there's no grandstands. They'd have to bring those in. But the dimensions of the field are Major League Baseball. It's all artificial turf. And the gentleman I was talking to said they're trying to get a ball game to come in there. It's an old, worn-down part of Cleveland that used to be very, very prominent. This was very wealthy neighborhood in the early 1900s. A lot of millionaires lived in this neighborhood. Now it's very old and rustic. That's all I've got for the show today. Remember to look at the other information on Andy and I's podcast on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. We have a blog, also YouTube. Once again, this is Sports and Songs podcast. My review after Dan's visit to League Park, Cleveland, Ohio. Today's June 10th, 2021. Thanks for listening.